Big changes in schools, it's time to know what's shaping classrooms, where do we go? Policy shifting, rules on the move.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Policy Pulse Education Edition, where we break down what's happening in K-12 education so you can stay informed, stay empowered, and most importantly, stay ahead of the game for you, your children, your community. All right. I know that this is not live. It is pre-recorded, and you all like to engage and drop comments and all the things. Feel free to do just that tonight, just like you would any other night. I am away because drum roll. I need some sounds. I think I might be able to find me some sounds, y'all. I am away. Look, I'm going to find my let me see. Here we go. Let me see. Here we go. There we go. There is my drum roll. I am the recipient of the Rise Award, which is given out by the Rotary Club, specifically the Plaza Rotary, is the one that is acknowledging my work in the community. So this is pre-recorded a day in advance. It's going live, of course, during our regular time, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, but I am at the award ceremony. Right. So I hope you guys get that. You understand it. But I did not want to leave you all hanging. We are in the midst of a 10-part series around Title I. And I wanted to ensure that we keep that going so that you all are informed, right? You are empowered and you will stay ahead, as I said before. I know that policy, education policy in particular, can feel overwhelming. It can sound so difficult to understand. But it's a lot of headlines going on, a lot of noise going on. And it's just really, really hard sometimes for each and every one of us to figure out what's true, what's real, what matters, and how it actually impacts us. And that is the work of myself coming to you each and every week on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. for Policy Pulse, the Education Edition. I want you to be informed in a way that makes sense to you, that it's easy to understand. You know how policies are impacting your children each and every day you take them to a school or school district, a charter school or private school, wherever you are taking them, wherever they are engaging in their educational pursuits, right? So no spin, no fluff right here. It is fact-based insights on what's changing, how it impacts you, your kids, your schools, your community. So whether you're a parent, an educator, a business owner, or just someone who cares about the future of education, stick with me. You're in the right place. We break it all down together. And I just am so thankful and grateful that you all are tuning in each and every week to be with me for Policy Pulse. All right. So that being said, I want to also just say that I am going to share my screen. Normally I pull up my slides and all the things, but this what I realized today is that, y'all, I had so much stuff for you all that it was like, Katina, it's not going to upload to StreamYard, which is the tool we use. So we must do it a different way. So I'm going to make sure that you all can see it. I want to make sure that it's popping up in the way in which you need it to. I think we got it. Yes, we got it, y'all. We got it. So I just want to make sure. There we go. You all can see everything you need to see. All right, there it is. So we are going to dive right in. And again, thank you all. Remember that it is National Family Literacy Month. And so that's every November And I want you all to really focus in on spending time as a family, developing and growing literacy. And one of the things that I did to celebrate is I often will say, if any of you watch my Teaching Tuesdays, if you watch anything, any of my literacy service announcements, anything like that, then generally you hear me say literacy is liberation or let's get lit. Like that, those are my things. And that comes from the notion and the statement by Frederick Douglass, our ancestor, who said, once you learn to read, you are forever free. And so I took all of those concepts, all of the things that really represent the Dreams KC brand, and using some of my AI tools, you all, I created a song for us to celebrate National Family Literacy Month. So as you see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you can go to YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at Literacy is Liberation or Dreams KC. And we have now a literacy anthem called Let's Get Lit. And actually, you know what? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go to YouTube and pull it up. And you know what? Before we dive into our broadcast and talking about all the things that we need to talk about tonight regarding Title I, I'm playing this for you all. How about that? How about that? So let me go ahead and let me see. Let me make sure I can do this. Share our screen. I'm going to make sure we can share. Yep, I got it, you all. Here we go. Here we go.
Books open doors we've never seen. Big dreams growing in our family. Turn the page, shine a light. Every story takes us to new heights. When we learn together, we rise together too. Every word we read is a step towards something new. Let's get lit, yeah, the reading kind. Families learning, hearts and minds. Lift your voice, hold your book up high. We're raising readers, watch them fly. Let's get lit every day, every night. Family literacy shining bright. Turn the page, let your dreams ignite. We get lit when we learn to read and write. Mama, daddy, grandma too. Everybody's reading, me and you. Words of power, words of keys. Unlocking futures, set us free. Yeah. When we read together, we grow in every way. Little moments matter, just 10 minutes a day. Let's get lit, yeah, reading kind. Families learning, hearts and minds. Lift your voice, hold your book up high. We're raising readers, watch them fly. Let's get lit every day, every night. Family literacy shining bright. Turn the page, let your dreams ignite. We get lit when we learn to read and write. Say L-I-T, let's light it up. L-I-T, let's light it up. From ABC to every chapter, we're building futures that come after. L-I-T, let's light it up. L-I-T, let's light it up. From ABC to every chapter, we're building futures that come after. Let's get lit, yeah, the reading kind. Families learning, hearts and minds. Every book, every voice, every dream. We're building a literacy legacy. Let's get lit every day, every night. Family literacy shining bright. This is our moment, our future inside. We get lit when we learn to read and write.
There it is, y'all. There it is. I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. I absolutely love that song. I encourage you all to like it, to comment, tell me what you think, share it out. I want this to become the national anthem for literacy. The national anthem for literacy, specifically family literacy. So let's get lit, y'all. That's the way I said. That's what we do. And so that being said, now we can jump into the content for tonight. I'm so excited. That just, y'all don't know, that lifts my spirit every time I hear it. I feel like kiddos in the classrooms can get on board with it. Teachers can get on board with it. Parents, grandparents. It is a universal song. Listen to those lyrics, right? Learn the lyrics, understand what it is saying. Is that becoming literate actually gets a step closer and closer to our dreams, right? That we can fly, we can soar. And again, we're being reminded of the words of the great Frederick Douglass that once we learn to read, we are forever free. All right. I said all that. Let me get back to it, y'all. We are ready to dive on in again. November is Family Literacy Month, so that hints the song. And again, I want this to really become the national, the international anthem for literacy. So I hope you all can make me or help me make that happen. Okay, I really, really do, because I feel like, hey, y'all, we need something to remind us of why it's important in all the things. Okay, so there we go. There we go. I want to make sure you all can see everything. I think you can. Yes, yes, you can. You can. Awesome. I'm going to make our slides a little bigger because what's most important is the information on our slides. And we need to dig on in and get going. All right, here we go. If you haven't heard, you should have heard by now. I'm going to reiterate. If we want every child in our city to become a confident and competent reader, we have to start by knowing whether or not families have access to books at home. We give a lot of books out in our community. We use a lot of resources to ensure that we are building home libraries. But we really do have to know geographically where book deserts exist within our communities so that we can allocate resources effectively and efficiently to serve the families most in need. So take a moment to complete our book access survey. It only takes about 2 to 5 minutes. Your response will help change the literacy story for our community. So I encourage you to share this out with as many friends, family members, colleagues that you can, so that we want 600 responses for our book access survey. This is the English version. Go ahead and scan our QR code for the English version. And then this is the Spanish version. So if you have families that English is a second language and they would prefer to complete the survey in their native tongue, Spanish, then scan this QR code, screenshot it, share it out on your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Facebooks, your LinkedIn, wherever we know there are parents, grandparents, adults that are supporting children in their literacy journey. We want to ensure that they complete the survey. Help us get to 600 responses, y'all. Okay. So if you are in Kansas City, Raytown, Grandview, Lee Summit, Kansas City, Kansas, North Kansas City, Belton, Raymore, Shawnee Mission, Overland Park, Johnson County, we want your responses. Okay. So please, 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 I encourage you again. Here's the English version. Here's our Spanish version. I'm going to keep it moving so we can dig right into the topic for tonight. Of course, as I said, my name is Katina Taylor. I'm the founder and CEO of Dreams KC, a nonprofit social enterprise that empowers parents with the tools they need to teach their children foundational literacy skills. I was an educator in the four walls of classrooms for 15 years. And I saw at middle school, at high school, and at the elementary school level that our children were struggling to read. And one of the things that we have attempted to do, but have not really had the success that we envision, is to do it ourselves without parents. But parents are the missing ingredient. So that is why we do the work that we do. Again, this is a Title I mini-series, 10-part mini-series. This is part number 5 tonight. We want to empower you as parents, as advocates, to ensure schools comply with the law as it relates to Title I, parent engagement, allocation of resources. I will give you this disclaimer, right, that the views and opinions expressed in this broadcast belong to me, the speaker, and only me, and do not necessarily reflect any affiliated organization that I may be a part of. I always like to make sure that that is clear for you all so you know what is happening. All right. So again, I just thank you all for tuning in tonight. We've already talked about what Title I is and all of the things. But before we dive in, I also want to make sure you understand what education policy is, right? And all it is, just to simplify it, it's the rules, it's the regulations, it's the guidelines that govern how schools are organized, funded, and run, period. And it focuses on, when we talk about education policy, we're talking about things that focus on standards for teaching. How do we certify teachers? What are the requirements for teachers to stand before our most precious cargo? How do we assess students? How do we know what they are accomplishing, mastering? How do we operate schools and school districts financially, operationally, right? And equity measures within local school districts, our state, and or our country. It shapes what, how, and where students learn and determines the responsibilities and rights of educators, families, and policymakers, i.e. those board members, right? Everybody has a defined role. What are they? So when we talk about education policy, this is what we're talking about. All right, the laws, the rules, the regulations that shape our work, that guide our work, and in many cases controls the outputs of that work. That's a whole other conversation. All right, so I just want to, why does this episode matter? We've already talked about what Title I is. It is a federal program, right, that allocates resources to ensure that every child receives a high quality education. We talked about who qualifies, how a school can have a school-wide Title I program or a very targeted Title I program. We've talked about what parents are legally entitled to under Title I, federal statute, right? The Every Student Succeeds Act, Section 1116, right? And now we're going to dig deeper into it tonight to really answer one question. Is my school actually partnering with me? Or are they just going through the motions? That's the question. And after tonight's episode, you should be able to assess, does my school district really want to partner with parents and families? Or are they just checking off boxes and having the appearance of engagement when really all it is involvement? So this episode matters, and it matters greatly, right? Because you deserve to collaborate, to be a true partner when it comes to the education of your child. Okay? I want you all to just let that, most parents I talked to, they've never had anybody just say, here's what the law says about your role. You might know that your school was Title I, but what does that really mean? No one has really explained what it means to have voice and power in the education of your children, but you do, and the law gives you that power and gives you that voice. And it is not okay for some parents to operate in that power and exercise that power and others not to. So I want to ensure that all families, all parents, all caregivers, all guardians, all adults that have been entrusted with the welfare of K-12 students understand their voice and their power, and they operate in it. That's why this episode matters, right? Many of you have experienced being involved. No shade. You show up, you sign the sign-in sheets, you attend the meeting, but many of you have never truly been engaged in real and meaningful ways. So tonight we're going to unpack what the law says, how schools sometimes fall short, how you can respectfully but firmly ask for what your family is owed. It is a right. And this is really about clarity and agency. It's not about shame or blame. And you'll know why I say that. So that's what it is. We're giving language, examples, questions. You need to advocate effectively for your child, ultimately. That's what this is about, okay? All right, so We're going to start right here by defining the terms, right? You may hear them used interchangeably. Sometimes people say parent involvement. Sometimes people say parent and family engagement. They are two different things. Two very different things. Involvement, muffins with moms, donuts with dads. Come and sit in the play or the music program. Attend this meeting and get some information. And support our pre-made decisions. The decisions we've made for you, not with you. That's involvement. But engagement, we're designing what things look like together. We're collaborating. We're co-creators. We're doing things jointly. I'm sitting at the table where decisions are being made and giving input that is seriously considered and in many cases embedded into the plans that are being made that directly impact my child or children. I'm sitting with school leadership, district leadership, and we're setting priorities for our children together. Title I expects engagement, not just involvement. And there's a big difference, a big, big difference. And when you know this, it changes everything. Oftentimes we'll make statements like, well, the parents in the suburban districts are able to do X, Y, and Z because they have been informed. They have studied and they walk in their voice and their power for what's in the best interest of their children. We can do the same things and we should. And I know that we are. Because again, once you know a thing, you can't unknow it. All right? And our kids are worth it. They deserve it. You deserve to be involved, or not involved, engaged in policies, procedures, practices, funds allocation as it relates to your children. All right? So when you think about involvement, I want you to think that means it's just participation. The school district, they decide what's going to happen, and you are invited to support it. You show up, you help out, you listen, maybe you volunteer. That's involvement. But engagement, again, is about partnership. The school invites you into the process early. You set the priorities, you shape the plans, and you influence decisions. I want you to think about involvement as doing things for the school, and engagement is doing things with the school. And remember that the law requires engagement and not involvement. I hope y'all got that. Screenshot this, jot it down, come back and look at it until it is clear in your mind. And you can actually ascertain if an activity or something that is happening at your school, you should be able to classify it. Is this involvement or is this engagement? You should be able to do that. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. All right. I hope you all understand that. So remember, we're talking about the Every Student Succeeds Act, a federal statute. We're looking specifically at Section 1116. It sets out very, very clear expectations around engagement and not involvement, right? It doesn't say parents should be informed. It says Title I policies and plans must be jointly developed with and agreed on by parents and family members. What does that mean? You have to be a part at the beginning stages, the planning stages. You must help review and improve Title I programs every year. And you must be involved in decisions about how Title I's funds are spent. Let me say that again clearly. You must be involved in the decisions about how Title I's are spent. Title I funds are spent, excuse me. So if your school builds a plan, right, or a budget behind closed doors, and then you show up to a board meeting or a parent meeting and it is presented to you, that is not what this section of the law describes. They have not complied. The law creates space for you to be a co-owner, not a spectator. And I love that analogy, right? Because what I think about immediately is like, showing up to a basketball game. You going to an NBA game, if you're going to watch LeBron play, you're a spectator. But if you're on LeBron's team, you sitting in that owner's box. I'll say it like that. Not even a player on the court, but you sitting in that owner's box. That means, hey, I'm an investor here. I own it. I have some decision-making authority. I'm not a silent partner. Oh no, I'm very active. I'm an active owner, an active partner, an active investor here. So I love that analogy. All right. That's what it says. That's what is the clear set expectations. And you all have to operate in it in this way. If it's one way, if it's after the fact, if it's not what the federal law describes as meaningful engagement, then we have a problem, a concern. And we need to be doing some advocacy work around that. Okay. All right. So here we go. Now, that's what the federal law says. Remember, that's the Every Student Succeeds Act. That is section 1116 federal statute. Now, what does Missouri say? Because Missouri, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, has a manual that schools and school districts utilize for guidance. Now, the manual should have been structured in such a way that it emphasizes, clarifies, further explains what is required under Title I. However, after careful review of the manual, and I will give a caveat that I spoke with someone at DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and they said that the manual is being updated. I don't know when it's going to be made available. I don't know when they're going to be done revising it. But currently, as it stands, what schools and school districts are utilizing for guidance, got a problem. All right. So Missouri, the manual talks about parent involvement and family engagement, but the language is often softer than what the statute requires. It uses words like, we encourage participation and parents should play an integral role. And those really sound nice, but they don't always reflect the stronger federal language about joint development, shared decisions, and co-ownership of plans. It waters it down. It focuses on these sign-in sheets, meetings to share information, and again, less emphasis on joint drafting and shared decision-making. Remember that, yes, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in the state of Missouri provides guidance, but it is not the final word. Federal law is. Anytime you have state law and federal law and they are in conflict or don't align, federal law always wins. That's Civics 101. Learn that in elementary school or middle school or high school. But anytime there's a conflict between federal law and state law, federal law always wins out. Okay, understand it. And this, in this case, this is just a manual for guidance. It's not the law. But that Every Student Succeeds Act is the law. And that's what then governs. Okay, so I want you to be really, really clear if you're in Missouri. Now, Kansas. Because I didn't want to leave you all out if you're in Kansas, okay, across the state line there. Kansas aligns much more closely to federal expectations. It is very strong in terms of the manual, the information that they put out for schools and school districts to use for guidance, okay? It tracks federal law way more closely than Missouri does. It talks explicitly about regular, two-way, meaningful communication. It highlights the requirement of joint development of policies and compacts with parents. It leans in a lot to the law, the spirit of the law as written. Parents as partners, not just attendees. Okay? So why does this matter? Because when a state's manual is vague, as I just said, schools may not feel pushed to honor the full strength of your rights. But remember, federal law is the floor. States can go higher, but they can't legally go low. Right? So I want you to understand that. States can go higher, they can be more stringent, but they can't go lower than what the federal law says. So you have to understand, if you're in Missouri, what's happening. If you're in Kansas, what's happening. Kansas is in alignment. Clap it up. Now that's their manual. That's what they are sharing. The question is, what does it look like in practice? If they have the right guidance and they're not implementing it, then we still have a problem. Okay? So we at least know that the information that is being shared is in alignment. What does that look like, boots on the ground in practice? All right. So one of the things I wanted to point out is that you all, as parents, as guardians, as caregivers, should be invited in very, very early to the process, as I said before. And I thought you needed to know, like, well, what does this stuff do? What does early really look like? So in Missouri, the Title I applications are due on July 1st. So at the very latest, February, March of the previous year, they should already, or that year, but so it's due in July. So February, March of the current year, right? Schools should already be involving parents in the planning. We need to be getting this done because we got to turn it in July. Oh, we need to start the review process, right? We need to be setting and scheduling these times, asking the parents, the guardians, the caregivers, what times of day do we need to meet? How often do we need to meet? What's our timeline to make sure we get this turned in by July 1st? Which means we're not finishing up on July 1st. We're actually submitting it. In Kansas, you have documentation that's due to the state in November. So August or September of that previous year, right? You should be starting. Let's go. Districts could set earlier deadlines for internal review and revisions and all the things, but this is kind of the guidelines, right? 4 to 6 months before deadlines, we should be working on this. Why? This is important because as parents, as caregivers, as guardians, you have an opportunity to review and shape program plans, provide input on budgets and policies, suggest improvements based on your needs. This partnership, it really makes it effective for everyone. So what's your action step? You need to be contacting your school's Title I coordinator or your federal programs coordinator at the district level to start asking questions about, when are our parent meetings scheduled? How can I participate? Because now you have some guidelines, you have some rails, right? I know if I'm in Missouri, this plan is due in July. So we need to be working on this now so we can get it ready to turn in July. If they say they've already turned it in, well, how could you do that if we haven't given you any input? We haven't did any joint decision making. What do you mean we're done? We're not done. Because I haven't had an opportunity to give input. Okay? You can be bold in that way. You can be firm in that way. You can hold your school district accountable in that way. So I want you to be really, really clear about that, okay? All right. Is your school doing this with you or to you? Token versus meaningful engagement. I love this slide. I love it. Token engagement. It's for show. Box checking after the fact. Again, one way. I'm giving you this information. You sign in, tell the folks you was here. We already made the decisions for you. We got it. You don't need to give us any input. We've been doing this longer. No visible impact when you do give the input. Because see, I can solicit your input, but if I never incorporate any of the things that you say, then this still is token engagement, not meaningful. I want you to be able to spot the differences very quickly. and advocate what your family and other families deserve, are entitled to. Meaningful engagement, on the other hand, is shared power, real influence, documented change. You're at the table early. You're talking back and forth. We're discussing what's the impact of this decision. What if we do this? What if we do that? What are the short-term and long-term consequences, the intended and unintended consequences? How can we implement this with fidelity so it has the intended results? Your ideas should show up in the final plans in some shape, form, or fashion. Not, thank you so much for coming in and giving it your input, but we're still going to go with the plan that we had. No. That's token engagement. We're looking for meaningful engagement, okay? Let me take a quick drink here, swig. All right, let's keep going, you guys. In real life, right? Red flags. This is my red. I should have put a big red flag on this slide. If you never have an opportunity to make decisions, you only are showing up for events, that's token. That's a red flag. If someone shows up and they say, hey, Miss Johnson, Miss Jones, Miss Taylor, here's our plan, but there hasn't been a series of meetings for you to give input, you just gonna rubber stamp it, red flag. You only getting robocalls, emails, flyers, newsletters, posts on the social media, but you can't ask questions, give feedback, or engage in dialogue, red flag. I'm gonna have to give me a red flag for y'all. That's gonna be my visual. I'm a visual learner. Meetings are only scheduled at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. No childcare, no transportation, no food. No consideration for the majority of working parent schedules. Red flag. Now, here's one that you all don't think about, or perhaps you do. It's the same old parent, always involved, always making decisions for the rest of us. They're the ones that get the meeting invitations. And the school is not making any effort to increase the involvement, the engagement to new parents or parents that haven't participated before. Diverse perspectives. It's just that same old group. Red flag. These are the warning signs. Not proof of bad intentions. I'm not saying that, because sometimes it's easier and we'll lean into what's easier than doing the harder thing when we're already overwhelmed and overworked. But they certainly are indicators, symptoms that the system that you are participating in, the school or school district that your child is attending, is not aligned with federal law. Now, this is just information. It is what it is. If someone wants to show up on policy posts or drop in the comments or call me up or send me an email saying I am misinforming parents, feel free. But I know I'm not. Okay? You all need this information. You need it. All right, y'all. Here we go. So, meaningful engagement. What does it look like? You already know. I'm just saying it in a different way here. But one thing I want to zero in on is this. That leadership development piece. Schools are required under Title I to be doing parent leadership and advocacy training. It needs to be offered so you can effectively and confidently participate in the decision-making process. So don't let them refer you and say, oh, well, you just go to PLTI. No, you just go to the Parent Power Lab. Oh, you just work with Dreams KC. Nope. It should be professional development, just like it's professional development that is offered to teachers. It should be offered to parents. Don't tell me you got a parent university and you're not doing this work. Oh, we have a school improvement group that meets. Where's your parent reps? You have an advisory council that's advising the superintendent. Where's the parent reps? Oh, we're working on the budget. Where's the parent reps for that team? Those are the two pieces, more than probably anything, where parent participation is missing. It's not existent. And then, oh, we're going to reassess, evaluate how well we did. How do we do that? Where's our rubric, our scoring guide? How are we looking at defining success or failure of our programs under Title I? That's meaningful engagement. That's what real partnership looks like, should look like. And when you all make suggestions based off evidence and real work and dialogue back and forth, when your suggestions show up in the final plan, that's a clear sign of meaningful engagement. Oh, we did that thing, right? That's what we're looking for evidence. Evidence. You hear me? All right. I hope y'all hearing me. This is just another way in which we break down involvement versus engagement. I want to do a side by side. So you see the areas in blue: events, compacts, planning, communication, budget. And then you see two columns. If it looks like the first column, that's involvement. That is not what is required under the law. But this far column, engagement, if it looks like this, hey, we're well on our way. Involvement is hands and feet. Engagement is heart, mind, and voice. Whew! Don't settle for involvement alone when the law promises engagement. Involvement is just doing something, showing up, hands and feet, putting a bulletin board together, grading some papers, filing papers, putting supplies up. But engagement, now it's critical thinking, it's problem solving, strategy, heart, mind, and voice. That's what should be happening. So I want to make sure you all saw that. Again, I wanted to make sure we define meaningful, right? Meaningful. I've said it in a number of ways. I can't repeat it again, but these are your 4 checkpoints to evaluate what's happening at your school. Meaningful engagement isn't abstract. It's not something you got to guess. It leaves evidence. You're at the table early in the process. You're not brought in after plans are finalized to rubber stamp. Schools present options, ask for input, and genuinely consider parent perspectives when making decisions about programs and priorities. Oftentimes, schools are hesitant to bring us in. Sometimes it's a deficit mindset. I just don't think they're going to understand. They're not capable of doing this work. Well, don't have a deficit mindset because you don't know about my gifts, skills, and talents and lived experiences. It's going to take too much time. Oh, well, it's going to take the time that is needed and necessary. Oh, they're going to bring up something specific to their child. Not if we set the parameters early in the process and let people know while we're sitting around this table. It's not about a very specific child, but it's about all of the children in our building. We can set the tone. We can create the culture and experience that we're going to have. We can set the parameters. And your ideas should show up in the plans and the budgets and the actual practice, not just the Kansas City nice thing we do. Oh, thank you so much for telling us that. We'll take that under advisement. Oh, no. Some of these ideas got to show up. And then there's a paper trail, sign-in sheets, meeting notes, updated policies, shared compacts that reflect your contributions. This is the checkpoint. Is all of this happening? That's what meaningful means under the statute, okay? So say, one of the red flags or multiple red flags exist. What can you do about it? You want to be curious. I've said that before, and I want you to be confident. You can be firm without being disrespectful. It doesn't have to be an argument, but you can ask very pointed questions to let school leadership know, hey, I'm coming in peace with a curious mind. Maybe it's information I don't know, I'm not aware of, so let me ask. But if they can't answer these, that's a problem. Who helped write our Title I Parent and Family Engagement Policy? Were parents involved from the start, or did the staff create it and is presented to the families? Are we just copying and pasting what we already had before and just rubber stamping it? How were parents involved before the plan and the budget were final? How many meetings did we have? How much dialogue did we have? Were interpreters available? Were the documents presented in different languages? Were meetings held at convenient times? Did you have transportation, food, childcare? Oh, you just had one meeting? Probably not sufficient. Can you show us examples of changes made because of the parent feedback? I know what the plan said last year. I have it in my hand. Where's that red line version where we incorporate the changes? What specific parent suggestions made it into the final plans? Oh, you just took those under advisement? We're probably not in compliance. And then when and how can we begin to start prepping and planning for next year? Because it's a repeated cycle. Let's build out the timeline now for next year. How do we get new voices, diverse perspectives to the table? You're standing on solid ground when you ask these questions. And it's not adversarial unless folks don't want to change. They don't want to shift. They don't want to do the responsible thing. They don't want to be held accountable. Then we may need to escalate up. Hopefully not. Sometimes you do. And that's okay too. So I think we already talked about Missouri and Kansas, what you can learn, what it means for us, all the things. So I'm not going to go back over this. When it's, again, name what you're experiencing, ask for meaningful engagement, connect with other parents, document and escalate if needed. This really feels like involvement and not engagement according to the law. Oh, you're just presenting the plan? Well, we weren't at the table before decisions were made, so I think we need to put the brakes and then kind of go back to the beginning. Can we help write the policy, or when can we give input on the budget before it's finalized? My favorite questions to ask other parents: did you know? Da 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 da. Oh, you didn't? Yeah, I just found that out. Yeah, Policy Post been talking about this. Yeah, here's the text of the statute. See where I highlighted it? You interested? You want to be involved? Bad. Let's schedule this meeting together. What works on your schedule? What's working on yours? Let me look at my calendar. Let's get it together. Oh, Miss Jones, Miss Smith, Miss Jackson. Oh, they're interested too? Okay, let's come together so that we can then meet with the school principal or the district level Title I coordinator or the superintendent, or show up at the next board meeting, whatever it is that we need to do. Now, if your concerns aren't addressed, document what's happening. Document anyway. Go to district level leadership if you can't get anything done at the school level. If district leadership is unwilling to be responsive and make corrections, if you're at a charter school, go to that charter sponsor. If you're in a traditional public school, go to the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education or the Kansas Department of Education. Or Activate Mo, or Dreams KC, or Black, or the NAACP. Like, there are advocacy groups that will support you on this journey. Parent Power Lab, Parent Leadership Training Institute, PLTI. You don't have to navigate this situation or circumstance alone. We are all here to support you all with strategy, resources, and solidarity. Okay? So I want you all to be really, really clear about this, okay? One of the things that I talked about before, but I really want to kind of go back to, is this whole thing around capacity building to help parents. The school should be helping parents build their own advocacy skills and training them. So the law expects schools to help parents build the confidence, the skills, and the information they need to participate as equals. No big eyes and little you. Oh, we're the education professional, so we know. Not if you just taught music and now you're a principal. That don't necessarily mean anything. Sometimes just because they sit in a seat doesn't mean they know everything. So sometimes you are going to step into the role of educating your school principal. Sometimes, not all the time, but I'm just letting you know that you may have to take on that hat. But the school's responsibility is to build your capacity so that you can advocate effectively. That may mean workshops on how to read school data, report cards, sessions explaining what Title I is in everyday language, support for parents who want to serve on committees or advisory councils but unsure where to start. And if a school leader says, our parents don't want to participate, but they've never offered the training, clear expectations, or accessible meeting format, that's not capacity building. That's an assumption. That's a bias. That's a deficit mindset. And that's placing the blame on families rather than changing the system. Because it's very easy to blame someone versus shifting a system. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that as it relates to meaningful engagement, right? All right, let's keep it going. So, one of the things I often say is literacy is liberation. And in this instance, engagement is liberation as well. This isn't just about money, it's about shared power. And I want you all to be really, really clear about that, right? The data and the research, it tells us all the time that the more parents are involved, the higher student achievement goes up. Outcomes change, less discipline, increased attendance. The school environment shifts and gets better. Right? And so we can be about the business of facilitating the educational journey of children. This is justice work. Literacy, justice, right? And freedom for our kids. Knowing your rights and using your voice is powerful. And it equips you to do so outside of the school system as well. And you are not asking for a favor. You're not. You are standing on federal law that was written precisely to give families like yours and mine, all of ours, a seat at the table. So pull up your chair, get comfortable, rest in that space, and work in that space. You are exactly the kind of parent this law is written for. One that wants to be engaged. Your voice matters. No matter what your education level is, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, your child is there. So your voice matters. And it's needed and it's necessary. Your presence matters and your partnership is required. Period. Put a bow on it. That's it. So what's next? What's next? I want you to understand the difference between involvement and engagement, what the law expects. I want you to recognize the signs. Is this involvement? Is this engagement? Are we just checking the box? Or is this meaningful engagement? I want you to be prepared to ask questions. And questions are sometimes uncomfortable, but they must be asked. I want you to stay connected with Dreams KC. The work that we do around literacy, you should see our literacy service announcements every single day. They're coming out. Join us once a week for our Policy Pulse Education Edition as we continue to dive deeper and deeper into Title I, what's happening at the state and or the local and state levels as it relates to education, what's happening at the national level, right? Share the replay. If you don't feel comfortable trying to explain it, just say, hey, here's the link. Go watch it. That's how we help one another. That's how we work in community and build our village. So we're not the only ones standing on the limb alone. No, we're a collective group of parents and families, guardians, grandparents. And say, we want to be involved. We want to be engaged. We want to help make decisions and shape what our school experience is. Okay, so I want to make sure you all understand. Remember, some of this can be overwhelming for old pros like Katina. You know, we can jump in with both feet, but that may not be your experience. So start with one question, one meeting, one conversation, and go from there. I love that you all are tuning in each and every week, liking, sharing, subscribing to the YouTube channel, right? Looking at the clips from each broadcast. So you're getting a deeper understanding, a better understanding, a clearer understanding of what we're talking about. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your commitment to ensuring that your children get exactly what they need in the educational environment. That's what this work is about. Engagement isn't a privilege, it's a right. You are powerful, your voice matters, and again, you are not alone. I want you all to remember that all the time, okay? So next week, what are we going to be talking about? When schools get it wrong. So we're going to go back over those red flags. We're going to give you some scenarios where you can actually determine, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this a situation? Is that involvement? Is that engagement? Is this a red flag? Is it a green flag? Red flag means we got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. That green flag say, all right, we're on the road to doing things the right way. So we're going to have some scenarios played out to ensure that we know what compliance looks like and what a red flag might be if our school or school district is out of compliance. All right. So that's what we'll be doing next week on Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here. LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, tune in and whichever platform you are most comfortable with. Be ready to ask questions, invite others. All right. Invite your family and community engagement liaison at your school. They need to know, right? What's happening, what they should be doing, how they can assist us in moving this forward. So as I close, I just want to say, whew, if you have ever felt frustrated, dismissed, or confused, not alone. It is not because you're too much. It's often because systems are not used to families knowing their power and operating in it. Title I was designed with you in mind. When you step into that role as a true partner, asking questions, requesting documents, expecting meaningful engagement, you are not working against the school. You are working for your child and every child in that building and district. So I thank you again for choosing to learn, to listen, to lead. This is what real engagement looks like. And together, we can move our schools from token involvement to transformational engagement. So that's a wrap, y'all, for today's Policy Pulse Education Edition. I hope this has helped bring some clarity to what's happening around Title I, education policy, and what it means for you. Staying informed is just the first step, but the real power comes when we use that knowledge to make decisions, advocate for what matters, and ensure our voices are heard. So let's keep the conversation going. Drop any questions, comments, or concerns that you have in the chat. If you're watching this later, hit hashtag replay. And remember, subscribe to our channel, like the broadcast, share the broadcast, invite folks to tune in to the broadcast. All of the things that are necessary for all of us to grow and know together. All right. That's all I have for tonight, y'all. That is all I have. Have a great one. Remember, this is pre-recorded. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
teachers.